Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Winning Hand Podcast, the podcast about Marvel Champions, one card at a time. My name is Boomguy. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and listening. This is episode 89. It's crazy that we're counting down towards 100, but I have with me today two special guests. The first one, you know him, you love him. He's the Red King of the People's Podcast. It's LazyTitan.
What's up? It's me.
I feel like I really hyped you up and you just came in kind of under just what's up? It's me.
Hey man,
all right, it's fine.
It's the People's Podcast. I'm not a hero. I'm just a guy.
They know you. They don't need introduction. And we also have with us first time guest, YouTube sensation, the Canadian himself, Andrej from the Crash Space. How are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me. This is pretty great. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm a big fan of your work, which we will talk about in a second what that is.
Thank you.
Before we get there, let me just kind of run down everybody what we got going on today. We have a listener email. One of the people emailed us. We're going to read that correspondence out for you all. Then we are going to meet Andrej from the Crash Space, hear all about what he does on YouTube. We're going to meet him and learn a bit about his taste in the game, when he got into it, all that kind of stuff. Then we'll talk about what we've been playing recently before we get to the card of the day, which is, of course, Strength and Diversity, before rounding it off with two decks that we have to share with you all. So I hope you enjoy all of that. If you enjoy all of it, let me just say up front, as I always do, if you want to support the show, the easiest and fastest way to do that, which takes less than 30 seconds, is to leave 5 stars and a few words on whatever platform you listen to this on. If you are watching us on the YouTube and you are one of the new ones and not one of the real ones, welcome. Please hit subscribe. Please hit like. Leave a comment if you want. All the stuff that the algorithm adores. If you've already done all that, let somebody else know who may not know about our show that we're here. All right. So thanks for all that, for bearing through. I have to pay the bills. Now let's meet Andrej. So Andrej, as I said, you are from the Crash Space. Can you tell us what is the Crash Space and what do you do there?
Yeah, Crash Space is a YouTube channel that I've been doing it's been just about a year. I think by the time this episode comes out. I've been making content on the internet for card games for a long time, for over a decade at this point. I think most people on the internet might know me from a game called Android Netrunner or Netrunner, which has been like my thing for a really long time. But I've also been playing Marvel Champions for like the last a couple years, let's say. And so as a side project, I thought it'd be really fun to have another kind of outlet where I can hang out and play some card games I really like. And so Marvel Champions was like the obvious choice. And so I think like February last year, decided to just do some live streams and do some gameplay and have a nice time making some accessible content. And it's been an absolute treat. Like I have been overwhelmed with the community response. Like everyone's so nice and so kind. I haven't been as plugged into the Marvel Champions community. So it's been like such a nice kind of exploration this last year. It's been great.
Well, first of all, for someone from Canada to call us nice, thank you. That really means a lot. But maybe you could tell us in like 4 to 5 sentences, what is Android Netrunner and why is Marvel Champions better?
Yeah, sure. Android Netrunner, some people might know, it was the thing at some point Fantasy Flight Games also put out. It didn't overlap technically with Marvel Champions, but it is an asymmetric cyberpunk card game. It's a 1v1 card game that's played casually or competitively. The big difference is that 2 players are doing 2 different things. One player is a corporation. They play their cards face down. They have secrets that are trying to advance. The other side's a runner who is an individual like running in and hacking and taking risks and finding out what those face down cards are. It's like a mix of, I don't want to say Magic the Gathering. It's technically originally made by the same dude, but it's kind of incredible. There's nothing like it. It's totally free to play right now. Everything's print and play if you want, or you can buy stuff. I'm obviously a huge fan. The game's great.
Well, that's great. It is long retired, I think, is my understanding. I've never played it myself.
So sort of. So Fantasy Flight Games lost the license in 2018, but since then there's been a group. It's a nonprofit volunteer collective called Null Signal Games, and they've been basically producing cards, running organized play, doing all of that since 2018. I just came from the World Championship in October, a couple months ago. We had like 450 players come out there. It's banging. It's honestly better now than it was back in the day.
Okay. Did you win?
I don't play. I'm actually, I'm a caster. So I've been casting the World Championship the last, I think 5 years now. So I mostly do like organization and that sort of stuff.
Wow. Incredible. Have you ever played, this is a slight tangent, folks at home will know that this happens sometimes. Have you ever played a game, it's a board game, a card game called Home Alone, the card game? you ever played that game before?
I haven't played that game.
Okay. This is a deep cut. Shout out to friend of the show, Astrodar, who turned me on to this game. It is essentially mini Android Netrunner.
It kind
where
of sounds like it.
one person plays Kevin, defending the house, and one person plays the wet bandits, trying to break into the house. It's like a 20 or 30-minute game. It's a small box. I picked it up on eBay. If you like Android Netrunner and don't always want to have time for Android Netrunner and want a fun seasonal game with incredible artwork, I will say it's all like, the artwork is all like it was knitted. Everything is like a knit.
Whoa.
It's an incredible game. It was like $20 on eBay. Highly recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll check that out. That sounds great. Yeah.
That is a deeper cut than most. That was
It's a ton of fun.
That was
My wife and I
beyond where I
played it
thought
a
that was
lot.
going to go.
We played it a lot this Christmas. It's really, really fun.
You're saying, have you played this card game? Like 90% of the time, I'm like, yeah, I played it. You definitely got me on that one.
We stumped him, folks. All right.
We got him.
Just for the record, anyone keeping score at home, Boomguy 1, Andrej 0. Okay, let's move on to the guest intro, and we're going to learn a little bit more about you. So before we do that, let me ask you, at one point in the game's life cycle, did you join the game?
I first played the game when it came out. Didn't like it. Didn't care for it. Bounced off of it so hard. And there's a clip of me on the internet doing a very negative review of it, but it's like embedded in a live stream somewhere. So I really want to rewatch it. And then years later, I was like, this game probably is cool. There's been so much about it. People are really excited. And I gave it another shot. And I liked it so much that I bought my own core set. The exact date was October 22nd, 2022. I log all my plays of board games and card games so I can tell you exactly what I played. And I played like 100 games of the core set, every difficulty, every character, every aspect. And then I decided, yeah, at this point, I'm all in. And at that time, it was still like possible to pick up everything. So I have a complete collection. But the first thing that came out that I picked up right when it was new was Mutant Genesis. So like the X-Men waves forward, that's like when I really got into the game.
Okay, but at this point, you have a complete collection.
Yeah.
You have all of it. Okay. Is there anything you've not played yet? Any part of the collection? Any hero? Any scenario that you've not tried?
I still haven't played Synthezoid Smackdown, and that's because I want to play it for the first time on the stream, and I don't have the card images for it just yet, so I'm waiting for that. I also haven't played Expert Loki from Trickster Takeover, and that's just, I haven't got to it for some reason.
Okay. But you've played all the old stuff. You've gone back and replayed
many
the classics.
But yeah.
So then let me ask you a few quick questions here. What's your favorite hero to play in the game?
Numerically, Hawkeye, which is like a strange one. I've played so many Hawkeye games. I think there's very few of us, but I mostly play protection. I'm a big protection fan. So any of the like interesting protection decks, I've been playing Colossus a fair bit recently. I like Nightcrawler a lot. I'm a big Iceman fan. Domino is great. Did I say Magic? I think the whole Age of Apocalypse wave has been like really kind to me, but I think those are probably my biggest.
Okay. What's your favorite scenario?
I have been, this is maybe some like newness bias, but I've been really impressed with Enchantress. I think the scaling is really cool, how it gets like legitimately more difficult as it goes on, which is kind of usually the opposite in Marvel Champions, which I think is like a really nice kind of inversion of the expectations. If I'm playing for fun, like my testing game is almost always Unis. I've played dozens and dozens of games of Unis and Claw. It's like my go-to gauntlet is those two, and they are always fun.
Okay. What's your most common and or favorite player count?
1. I almost always play solo. It's a thing with this game that's been so fascinating, like learning from the community and talking to people and like YouTube comments or chat is like, there's so much of this game that's multiplayer that I have barely experienced because I mostly play solo. I play with my partner. We usually run through campaigns when they come out, and I've played like maybe a couple 3-person games, but there's so many like card evaluations and how I think about the game that's entirely siloed on like single-handed solo.
Interesting. What's your favorite aspect?
Protection by a mile.
Okay. You do a pretty good job. I have watched, and then now we're going to talk about your YouTube channel because I've watched a fair few of your videos. We usually watch you on stream. Can't ever time to be on the internet when I'm supposed to be. The age of me watching TV whenever something was on is over, and so I just watch it whenever I want to. YouTube's great. So I haven't watched you on stream live, but I've watched quite a number of your videos. It's incredible production value, I will say.
Thank you.
Like, it's incredibly produced. You clearly, I remember when I first discovered you, I didn't discover you, but when I first found your channel, I was really impressed, and it was clear you had been streaming something else. Like this wasn't your first rodeo. Just from the card images to how smooth you are on camera to the audio quality, video, everything. It's good production value, which we know something about here at the Winning Hand. Thank you. Yeah. So do you like the streaming aspect, like interacting with people, or why do you favor that over like recorded gameplay?
So I try and do both. I think what it comes out to is convenience and time. What you find out if you work like doing the sort of high quality video work that anyone does, like, editing a podcast, it just takes time. And so I can put out more gameplay faster if I just do it live. And of course, you get the benefit of hanging out with people and having chat and bouncing off of folks. Like that's always on its own something worth doing. But I realize like it takes me, say, 6 hours to edit a gameplay, or in a 5-hour stream, we can play 3 games at once. So at the time when I started the channel, it was just like out of convenience. It made sense just to do more of that. I wish I had more time. Mind you, when I started the channel, I was doing content full time. So I had more time, and now I'm back to full-time work. So it's just, I can do what I can do at this point. I wish I had more time for it.
Would you ever do gameplay with more than one person on the channel?
I think so. It's definitely been asked. I think the problem that I've kind of now pigeonholed myself into is I need to be able to present it, or I feel like I need to be able to present it in a way that maybe people expect me to present it. So it's a bit more work. I think I would definitely be interested in. I've had a lot of people asking about two-handed gameplay, and I'm like super aware how much more interesting this game can be when you play with more than one person, or at least more than one hand. Like, yeah, this game supports multiplayer in a very interesting way.
Well, if you ever want to do a 2-player gameplay, I would be happy to join you on your channel, or I have a few gameplays on mine that's not anything near what you do. But if you ever want to play multiplayer, let me know. I think that could be interesting. Yeah. For me, a solo is like what I play when I just can't play with anybody else. I'm glad that I have the option to play solo, but I really would just rather prefer to play with other people.
You make me sound like a lonely person, and I get it, but no, I totally agree. For me, that's why it's so convenient, is if I have like 45 minutes, I can play, a couple scenarios on my own, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, you can bang out a solo game pretty quick, off camera, especially. Like I have 30 minutes, I can probably bang out a game. I just find that things get lost for me, like the interactions that I enjoy, and playing two-handed doesn't quite do that because it's just taxing my brain twice. Yeah. It's not the same. So, okay. So that is you. I'll put a link to your channel down below. I'm pretty sure your YouTube channel is either on the cusp or already bigger than mine, so they don't need my help to find you, but I will link it all the same.
Thank you.
Let's jump into a listener email before we talk about what we've been playing today. We got a listener email from one of the people. I know he's one of the people because he signed it, one of the people, parentheses, Anthony. Anthony says, "Hey guys, like a lot of others have said, this is one of the best Marvel Champions podcasts. I got this idea after listening to your episode about each hero's best defense card. What if you did a tier list of each hero's most thematic card? Kind of like summing up the hero from the comics and which card or cards best embody that hero as a whole. Might need an expert panel of guests, but that sounds like a fun idea for an episode or a series of episodes. Keep up the great episodes." Signed, one of the people, Anthony. That is a great idea. LazyTitan and I have recently started an offshoot series where we're going through our top 10 favorite heroes and talking about why they're our favorites and kind of focusing on one card of that hero's kit to retain the one card at a time flavor. But since I have you two guests here, I'm going to put this question to you guys. Give me your favorite hero or heroes and tell me their most thematic card. LazyTitan, don't pick one of your top 10 because I'm going to hear about those in video. But Andrej, you can feel free to choose whoever you like. It's outside your top 10, LazyTitan. I'm going to hear about those in a video. Don't spoil it for the people. I have bills to pay. The advertisers need fresh content.
I already
had
give me
something.
Okay.
So
you go first,
Andrej,
he ruined me.
I'll let you start. Why don't you tell me your favorite or one of your favorite heroes and what their most thematic card is?
I feel like this is such a cop-out, maybe a softball answer, but I've been playing a whole bunch of Nightcrawler, and obviously Nightcrawler is made around the idea of BAMF, and I really like token decks, like that token idea, like Frostbite, BAMF. One of those is truly a token, but this sort of like card that interacts with the entirety of the game that you can recur, that's like so central to everything else, just like really focuses the theme on this is your shtick, this is what you do, without it you're nothing. And I think it just does a good job at making Nightcrawler, disappear, reappear, constantly not there when you want to hit them. 10 out of 10. I think Banff is just like the greatest.
Yeah, I think Banff is really clever. It's a good shout. Friend of the show, Caldeus, big Nightcrawler fan out there. I really think that they nailed the feel of Nightcrawler. Like, I don't read a ton of comics, but I've seen the cartoons, and like that upgrade really hits what he would feel like to me. I think that's a great shout. LazyTitan, you got one?
I'm stumped. I had an idea, and you ruined me.
Okay, well then I'll go next. You think about it a little longer. I'm going to take, I don't know if it's the most, but I'm going to take one that I think is a really thematic card. I like War Machine's Full Auto. I think Full Auto is just like War Machine to a T. Dump all the ammo, empty everything, do 8 damage. It's overkill. It's a whole thing. The art is incredible in that card, so, I mean, how can you go wrong with War Machine just pumping out damage, right?
That's a
LT,
good
give me
choice.
something.
Okay. I have maybe a deep pull. Qualifiers. Thematic.
Give me
Not
qualifiers.
good card.
That's
but
fair.
One of my biggest gripes with Hulk has always been that they used such great names and art for cards that aren't that good. And my favorite one is Suborbital Leap, because I love the qualifier there, because obviously it implies that there is an orbital leap possible, because it's the Hulk.
Maybe not by him, by somebody.
Maybe not by him, but probably. And so he has to qualify when he's only jumping across a continent and not quite into space. And I just love the art of him like shooting over the city, like just flying over the city, ready to go do whatever. I'll say a lot of the Hulk cards are they're very thematic. They're obviously not very good. Limitless Strength is one of my favorite artworks in the game and feels so very Hulk. Yeah, it's a shame that I don't play him very much. Yeah, Suborbital Leap for me. I've always loved that card. I think it's so cool that he has to specify that he's not going into space this time.
I think the funny part of the Suborbital Leap is that I don't know the distinguishing line between flying and leaping. Like, if it's a suborbital leap, at what point are you just flying and which point are you jumping? You know what I mean?
Well, at some point he will hit the ground, I think is the difference, right? When Superman takes off,
so do flyers,
could
right?
never. But Superman could never hit the ground again. He doesn't need to. Iron Man could theoretically fly until he's the thing that's bringing him down isn't the gravity from his original takeoff. If Iron Man jumps into the air and flies, he then will land later. Hulk just gets one movement. He just gets to go in one direction until he claps and then shoots himself in a different direction, because he can do that. But
the comic readers know that the thing bringing down Iron Man is alcoholism. It's bad kids. Okay, that's a storyline from a long time ago. Let's talk about what we've been playing recently or what we're excited about. Andrej, as you are the guest here, I'm going to let you go first. Why don't you tell us what you've been playing recently and or what you're excited about?
Yeah, so I'm wrapping up. I have a tracker that I had for last year where I want to play every champion through at least a campaign. And I got to the end of 2025 and there was like a dozen left over. So we're running through it. And you might know, I think you all know, making content online, you're kind of incentivized or encouraged to do weirder and different stuff constantly to keep things interesting. So recently on stream, at least the time of recording, I was playing Aggression Colossus based off of a Journeyman 2 deck from back in 2022 that had Hulk and a lot of aggression cards. And I was doing Savage Strike because you can get overkill with the Iron Rage. I forget the name of the card, but you can do a basic attack for like piercing overkill for like 13 if you set it up. And that was a lot of fun. I just did a campaign run of Civil War last night and it went smooth.
Nice. Well, I'll go next because it's a segue from yours. I have been playing a lot of Savage Strike recently as well. At the time of this recording, I just published a deck. Yeah, a Wasp deck. It's so fun. I've been trying to get Savage Strike to work since it came out. I like the idea of it, but not quite the execution. The Wasp thing, the splitting is just, it always was like almost, but Savage Strike really hit it for me. And being able to booster attack in other ways, and then Savage Strike, and you're just really going face as much as possible and killing villains or minions along the way as needed, pinging damage here or there. I also love with Savage Strike because you can split it up. Every instance of that damage now has piercing, so there's multiple tough cards out there. You can just hit tough cards and kill things. The Wasp is fun. She is, I will continue to say, my favorite triple form hero. I think she's more fun than Ant-Man by a lot. And I think she's more interesting than Angel. So, yeah, I've been playing a lot of Wasp recently, and I published a deck. I will surely forget to put the link down below, but you can look at Marvel CDB if you're interested in seeing what that is. LazyTitan, what have you been playing
For
recently?
truth.
Here it is.
I have recently been experimenting with the Daughters of Thanos, that being Nebula and Gamora. I tried Gamora because I thought there was something there. I've always liked the idea of Gamora more than I've actually liked playing her. Ended up making a protection deck that was super low to the ground, just all very cheap events, all about getting her sword out. So I have things like lock and load in there. And it was good. So I had stuff like Precision Strike and all those little quick events, all about just playing lots of cards, making sure I'm getting her big 2-cost events off every time I can. And it can do stuff. It is limited by, I'm playing like 4 cards a turn, which is nice and fun. But it is limited by those cards doing like 2 or 1 thwart all the time. So you're only 4 cards displaying, you're triggering your ability every time, so you're getting the most value out of that. But you're only ended up getting like 5 damage and 3 thwart a turn, which is not bad. It's not terrible, but it's just not, it wasn't like explosive. It was very tempo, it was very fast. It set up pretty much instantly. You didn't really need anything, and Gamora's things are so good. I enjoyed it. I did end up publishing it because I just couldn't get it to click the way I wanted it to. And then I tried Nebula by pulling her out of the box, looking at her cards, remembering that she's not that fun or good, and then I put her back. And that was that. But Gamora was cool.
The Nebula stands at home. Both of them are very upset.
I'm sure.
I like Nebula a heck of a lot. I've
I'm sure.
recently...
Okay.
Yeah.
Defend this stance, Andrej.
Okay, so the most interesting thing is Nebula's design. Like, there's no other character who their power does not like increase. Like, we have so many build-up champions and we have so many event-based champions. I guess Gamora is kind of interesting as an event-based, but the idea is that you set up something and then it goes off and you're left with nothing, and then you have to set up something again and it goes off and you're left with nothing, is so strange in any card game, let alone this card game, that I've been like fascinated with the sort of like hills and valleys that it generates. It like generates much more, I think, stories that I remember that have highs and lows. I don't know. I've appreciated it more than I thought I would.
I can't disagree with much of what you just said. It is a very unique play loop. I find it not incredibly satisfying, but that is a matter of opinion, and you may enjoy it more than I do. That's fine. I just never can quite get the techniques to work. It feels like when I want techniques out, there aren't any, and then when I want them in my hand, I don't have. Like, I don't know. I can never seem to get it to work, and it always just ends up feeling bad. Maybe that's a Boomguy problem. I don't know. Listeners, what am I getting wrong? Let me know. Send me an email, winninghandpodcast@gmail.com, or hit me on Discord. I don't know. Maybe, what am I missing? Well, T, Nebula, you don't like her.
I don't like her. Just the way that my brain works, she doesn't work for, because she, like you said, neither does sort of a fast tempo, like just play cards, push damage, get things done, or like a build up for a big payoff thing. So my brain just naturally wants to do that, and it doesn't work either way. You can't just like not set up things and go for face and push damage, and you also can't like build all of the techniques up for this big like payoff, because the payoff isn't that big. So you end up either going too high or going too low, and I have yet to crack how to do that. I like combos, I like doing things, and also can pivot and do tempo, but she doesn't really do either one right. And her cards are just weird. And I want to do something more with it. I want to build onto it. I want to get that overkill and piercing, and I want to put that into some big attack, but it has to be certain things, and there's only some ways to do it, and it only lasts for turns. You have to set it up really hard. I've done it with Go All Out before, which is fun, but it is kind of a gimmick because you have to set it up so many turns ahead, and the Retaliate's good, and it's not quite there for me, and it gives me a headache trying to figure out what I'm going to do with it.
I will say this is one of the videos, I've watched many of your videos, but this is one I remember in particular, Andrej. I remember watching you play Nebula. And I remember thinking to myself, yeah, this looks fun. Like, looks like something I maybe I was wrong. He looks like he's having a good time. This is enjoyable. Okay, this is like a fun little thing. I put that exact deck together that you played, and it just like continually vomited on its own shirt, and I like just
Yeah.
didn't know how to stop. I was like, let's play this. I'd flip up, and then I have whatever the one that cost X is to trigger all your stuff. You draw into that after they're all gone. You're like, okay, well, I can't. They go off, and there's this thing you can try to game it by like, well, if I forget what it is. It's like overkill or whatever it is that you can like try to keep it out, similar to the She-Hulk
Yeah.
gaming. And that was, I think, the crux of that deck you were trying to build. You were trying to keep the tough cards, and like if you already had one, you couldn't. Something like that.
Yeah, you can discard it because you can't give yourself a second tough, I think. I forget
Yeah,
what the
which
interaction
is-
is, but there's like weird rules interaction that's like pretty favorable, as niche as it is.
Yeah, but it always, just like the same one with the She-Hulk, where it feels like, oh, well, I can't lose this because you're already stunned, so I can't. It just feels like I'm cheesing the game. I'm like exploiting a loophole rather than actually playing a rules interaction that's interesting. I don't know. That's just me.
Hey,
I don't get Nebula.
to lean into that slightly, and I think this is one of the things that was brought up that makes me want to explore more like multiplayer, is the X cost card, because it's an action, someone can call for it. Because the problem with Nebula is if you go first, right, you have to destroy all your techniques, and then the X cost is useless. But if you're the second player, you can do the X cost while you have all your techniques because you haven't started your turn to discard them. That sounds like the coolest thing to me.
Yeah, I just also find that this, like you said in your initial defense of Nebula, like that you build all stuff up and you basically self-detonate it all, and like not to great effect. It's like you ping one here, there, get a tough card. It's like not amazing effects where I feel like I had a huge turn. I feel like I had a Gamora turn where I like did a thing. That's kind of cool, but now they're all gone, and now next turn I can do nothing. So I don't know. This
It feels
podcast
like
is not about Nebula.
playing Gamora a turn behind.
Yeah.
Because like Gamora, you're just going to do it right now, and Nebula, I'm just going to do it all next turn, or in 2 turns if I'm down. Like I'm just prepping to play Gamora, when in my brain I could just skip the extra steps, build a Gamora deck, and do it right now.
It feels more analogous to me to Black Widow, who I've been playing a lot more recently.
Yeah.
It feels like Black Widow, but like she just is clumsy and keeps dropping everything. Like just like, oh, I have these preparation, but like, oops, they're gone. Instead of like using them when you want to use them. I don't know.
It's weird. If she had like the Black Widow treatment where she had an alter ego that she could grab one from her bin, like, oh my God, Nebula would be so much smoother.
Yes, that would help. She had some kind of, I like that she has that wild resource generator. That's cool for Guardians, especially. But if she had some way to get them back, I just feel like they're gone when you need them and there's too many when you don't. I don't know. Anyway, not about Nebula. Let's move on. We are going to move on to the card of the day, which is, of course, the title of this episode, Strength and Diversity. Strength and Diversity, I will share this on the screen, and then, Andrej, since you are the guest, I will ask you if you would please read the card for the real ones who are listening at home, and then we will talk about the card. Please.
All right. So we're looking at a leadership card. It costs 2 per player, so pick your favorite even number. It's an alliance card, which is a keyword that says players at the table can pay the cost together. You don't have to pay evenly, just get it paid. And as a hero action, it says for each different trait on friendly characters in play, choose. And then there's 2 bullets. You can either remove 1 threat from a scheme or deal 1 damage to an enemy. And then the cutest button on this card is that if you pitch it, it generates a wild resource, which is just kind of perfect for the theme of the card.
Yeah. This is the second per player card that we have discussed on this podcast. LazyTitan, do you remember the other one that we talked about?
Team Investigation.
Good call. That was like episode 10 or 12, I want to say. It was a
There's
long
only
time
like
ago.
5 of them.
Yeah, there's not many. It was a long time ago. So this is Strength and Diversity.
Falcon.
Correct. This did come in the Falcon pack. So now nobody can say, I'm at a buried lead here. Maybe I'm going to give it away. Nobody can say nothing good came in the Falcon pack because here it is. So this is a leadership card. It does have a wild resource, which will become important later when I talk about my deck. But yeah, so LazyTitan, why don't you describe for the real ones what the art on this card is? Paint a picture in their minds.
So it's like a yellow kind of like action background. Looks like maybe an explosion of some kind. And then we have our 3 heroes, Falcon, Silk, and Maria Hill. Falcon's got his old classic comic suit, the all black with the red wings. And he's kind of outstretched, wings at the ready. Silk's in like a very spider pose, like all kind of crumpled up and like arms out back. And then Maria Hill's just doing kind of like a classic superhero, like, oh, let's go get him kind of pose. And she's got her gun. So they're all just kind of, they are clearly going into action, some kind of like action shoot, getting ready for a fight. And they're just using their skills, their different skill sets for good.
Yeah, this art kind of reminds me of the scene in The Lord of the Rings where the three hunters, Gimli, Legolas, and Aragorn, are in the woods, and they come upon the White Wizard, and they're not sure who the White Wizard is, and so they turn around quickly and they charge at him, trying to take him out, thinking it's Saruman. Spoiler alert for the 2003 film, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Towers.
Two Towers, thank you. It's not
Get it
actually.
right.
It's Gandalf who is resurrected. If you haven't seen the first one, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But that's what kind of reminds me. They like turn around, there's a flash of light, and they're charging at the camera. This art is custom by Sebastian Guido Bono. That was pronounced impeccably. Thank you. Andrej, what do you think about this art?
Firstly, Winter Soldier just not showing up in this is so funny to me, considering there's like 4 in that wave, if I'm not mistaken. Are we missing a couple actually?
Nick?
Or is he the only one missing?
Nick?
But yeah, I guess Nick too, and there's probably one more. Who am I forgetting?
Winter Soldier and Shuri.
Oh, and Sherry. Okay, so that's fine. Whatever. I think when I originally saw this, I was like, oh, it seems kind of simple. It seems like it's lacking detail. The background being kind of washed out. But then the more I looked at it, the more this reminded me of like very much 90s cartoons, where a lot of times for the, the economics of it, they don't paint full backgrounds. They just like do color washes and stuff like that because it's cheaper. And with specifically like Maria's pose, that sort of, cartoon, there's a bit of a moral attached to it, but also we're going off to fight, to kick ass and all that. Like, kind of love it. It's actually very charming.
Well, I'm going to come on the opposite side of the fence here. This to me seems like someone asked ChatGPT to draw like heroes charging into battle, and it came up with this. I don't want to insult the artist. Clearly, they're better than I am at the technicality or the technique, the artistry of it. But like, it just seems very
It's more of an
bland.
art direction issue.
It's like, I don't know. They're just charging to, it's like Falcon's here, Silk's here. Yeah, like nothing is unique. It's not particularly to me dynamic or engaging. I don't know. It doesn't do a lot for me. LT?
My biggest issue with it is its strength and diversity. And so like it cares about traits. It's all about having lots of different heroes from different teams and all these different abilities and stuff. And there are 3 people on this card.
Yes.
There are supports that have more heroes on them than this. Like team building exercise. Either art has more people on this card. That's my biggest issue with it. Is it's just like 3 people. They're all
2
from
of these
that
characters
wave.
actually share a trait too. If you're going to go that deep, but yeah, go on.
2 of the characters share a trait. I don't like Falcon's suit. That's not an artist thing. I just think it's like the classic suit. I just don't like it. I think it's ugly.
Have these characters appeared together in a comic? Like, is this the first frame? Like this?
Oof.
This is weird, isn't it?
I think it underscores right that they are so different. It's like a Web Warrior and an Avenger. Maybe it's supposed to look. I don't know. They just don't feel like they have a lot of chemistry. Isn't the right word, but like they just don't even feel like they're on the same page. They just feel like
If you picked
could have been
3
clip arts put together.
heroes,
I don't know.
3 heroes from their respective teams. If you picked an Avenger, a Spider, and a Shield member, I think you couldn't have picked 3 that had less to do with each other than these 3. Like, at least if you picked, like, Captain America, Spider-Man, and Nick Fury, it's like, okay, they're all fulfilling effectively the same roles with the same traits. Even if you switch out Captain America for literally anyone, Hawkeye, you're like, okay, you're getting kind of the same thing, but at least these are characters we know and that we know work together. None of us know if these characters ever work together. If they have in the comics, I, as the average consumer of Marvel Champions, have no clue. So I think that's maybe not the right choice. I understand it's probably just because they're the 3 heroes from the wave.
Yeah, that's probably a big part of it,
if you're
right?
picking 3 heroes from the wave, still not the best 3, and why not just put the other 3 on there? Why not just have Shuri and Nick and Winter Soldier on here?
Not to get too into it here, but I do think that some of the choices have to do with diversity here, right? And I don't mean that in a pejorative. That's like I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. This is not a political podcast, but it's representation of there's a African American man, there's an Asian woman, and there's a white woman. Like, I think that matters also in the diversity here. And then also that they have traits from different teams, right? That's why Silk is important, I think, in this image, because she's like a web warrior, which is a very different team and tribe in the game. So I think the diversity works on a number of different levels. I just find the art, like, they aren't interacting with each other. It feels very bland to me, and it doesn't do a lot for me. I can see the simple kind of throwback cartoon charm that Andrej was talking about, and I recognize that, but I don't know. It leaves me a little cold. Let's talk about the theming of this card. So that's where we talk about the cost and the title and the traits and the flavor text and everything all together. Does it come together well to form a coherent piece, or does it feel a little disjointed? LazyTitan, why don't you start on the theme?
I think the theming overall is pretty good. Strength and diversity, obviously, we talked about how it's about using lots of different traits because people from all different teams and specialties can do all those special things. And it also lets you do a little bit of anything you need to. So everyone's got a little bit of a specialty in something. So we can do damage or thwart as needed to whoever we need to at any time, because you can split it however you want. It has alliance, which is obviously great, which lets us all help join together to pay for it and make it happen. The only thing I don't love about the theming is that it is a alliance, like a scaling cost card, because the strength and diversity is that all of us together can get this done because we all have these extra different powers and specialties and whatever. And so when there's more of us, it's actually harder. It's actually more difficult to achieve when there's more of us working together, which doesn't super make sense to me. I understand why it's done for like a balancing sake, because this card, we'll talk about that in a second, but that's the only miss for me. Otherwise, I think it's quite good.
Theme-wise, Andrej, how do you feel about strength and diversity?
Well, I think it's charming. I'm a big believer that different people, like all coming together and bringing, their strengths, their weaknesses, their different points of view is really important in just about anything that you could do. And so like having a diverse field of people in front of you, everyone works together to get something done. I like this card a heck of a lot. Now, I only play it usually solo, so, the scaling and how good this card is at higher numbers, that's an interesting question, honestly. But yeah, I think this is just very, very cute.
I think the theme works on the whole for me. I think the strength and diversity, kind of the idea that we're all in this together and we're all helping, is good. I think the alliance keyword really plays into that. Not only does it play into the power of the card we'll talk about a minute ago, but I think it helps with the theme of like all of us being in this together at the table. I realize that alliance is a largely useless keyword to you, Andrej.
Yeah, that's fine.
But it is important in a multiplayer game. So, and I think the 2 per player cost also, like, all of that does work together. So I think to me, thematically, it works. I think it's also works really well that it's a leadership card rather than another aspect that plays into the theme for me as well.
I think that's so important. Like a lot of the leadership cards, at least from my experience, are about like managing your people. Like you're like an HR person. You're bringing them back from the bin. You're calling in the right person. And this is one of the cards that's like the whole table cares about you. Like you are actually the aura that's sort of like, leader into battle. Like I think this is such a sick leadership card.
Yeah, I think it's really good. And I don't know if I agree. I think there's a lot of leadership cards. Not a lot. There's some that care about other stuff. But I think most of them, now that I think about it, you're right. They're mostly about your own. It's like your sidekick and it's yourself, and the cards like Moxie, which boosts you and go all out, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I agree with you. Power of this card. I'll go first and lead off on this. I think this card ranges on the power level based on player count. And I think it goes from like absolutely broken to a fun card that's maybe like below the curve in effective resources. I think in solo, this card is absolutely cracked, or it can be. When it first came out, I published a deck months ago that I won't talk about too much because we're going to talk about decks later. But I think you can really abuse this card in solo to provide so much threat and damage removal. Also because it's not an attack or a thwart. You can get around stunning. You get around all kinds of stuff. This card can. I don't like the word broken, but I think in solo it can be broken. Like you can just wipe the floor with everything. At higher player counts, the cost really becomes an issue, and I wish the cost was scaled slightly differently because I think by the time you hit 4-player, it's almost, well, it just is too expensive. Even a 3-player, I think 1 and 2 player is a sweet spot for this card. LazyTitan, I'm gonna let Andrej go last because he primarily has probably played this at 1-player, but in higher player counts, what have you seen with Strength and Diversity?
In higher player counts, this card kind of just boils down to like a meme or like a gimmick. I built a Thor deck a while ago that was all about just making as much money as you possibly can, partially just to play this card in any player count. And so I could play this by myself pretty easily. But if you're not playing a deck that is literally just built around making as much money as you possibly could do, it's just so hard to play. And ultimately, the problem there is the gamer greed, right? Because if every single person paid 2 resources out of their pool of resources, which is actually not that much, then at any player count, everyone just pays 2, and you play this card, and this card's pretty good, kind of no matter what. It doesn't scale quite as well into 4-player, but if everyone just paid their cost, it would be fine. But a lot of people don't want to pay into an alliance card because that messes up their fun math for their cool turn.
Their hand.
So they're like, I don't want to pay my taxes because then I won't get to play my Queen Carrier.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just have to not have a Queen Carrier for the turn, and that's fine. Or maybe someone else picks up the slack a little bit and you guys can negotiate. But if you're playing with like strangers, especially like at the con, you just met some people, it's hard to just be like, hey guys, I met you 10 minutes ago. Do you want to spend 4 resources for my cool card? It sometimes can get lost. I also do think that because there is such a focus in this game on waves of teams primarily or similar traits, there is just kind of an upper limit to what your average 4-player pod will be able to do. So in my experience, again, as we've talked about, I've not played this card in solo, shocker, but in 2 to 4-player, and from what I've seen in solo, if you build around this card, you can get to like 12 to 13 traits pretty consistently. There's a lot of traits in the game, and there's a lot of allies. You can get like Hugin and Moonin is a great 3. You get Bird and Asgard, which are pretty rare, and then also Ariel, which is good. If you're playing a hero like Venom, you get Space Knight or something, and you can get a bunch of weird traits, and you can get to like 10 or something. And so then this card is, as we talked about, we'll let Andrej talk more about the solo, is like 2 for 10, which is ridiculous. In 2-player is 4, which is still quite good, actually, because you're usually in 2-player getting somewhere close to like 15 to 17, depending on what your deck is. And if you're both playing Avengers and like Avengers-themed decks, it's kind of hard to get there. But people like Blade are great. He's got Vampire, which is rare, stuff like that. But at 3 and 4 players, you don't often get more than like 16 to 18 traits. If you just show up to a random pot of 4 people, unless you just happen to be playing a Web Warrior, someone's playing like Shuri for Wakanda, and King if you're playing Black Panther, and then you have an X-Men and a Guardian, unless you're all playing like different teams to really get this card as juiced up as possible, you're going to have a lot of overlap, and you're just going to kind of end up around like...
Yeah. We are well aware of your lack of allies.
So,
Andrej,
don't play
what do you think about solo?
Yeah. So the question is, how much does this have to do to be good? And I guess the first thing to say is like what this does is such a uniquely good effect in this game. The ability to remove damage or threat. Firstly, as you said, not an attack, so it beats stun, it beats confuse. It technically beats piercing by not wasting damage. But the idea with this card is that you never waste any part of it. Like one of the big things you're doing when you're playing solo in high difficulties is trying to line up your damage, your thwart perfectly with everything, because otherwise paying like 2 to 5 damage when you only need 3 damage, you are wasting output for that turn. So this card already, you can make it good, it is so good because you never waste anything. You can thwart down everything, you can defeat every minion, and anything left over goes to the main scheme or to the villain, and that's perfect. You always get perfect efficiency. This card is so good. But then the question is, how much do you need for this to be a quote unquote good card for like, competitive card analysis? And the answer is around only 5 or 6. Like if this is a 2 for 6 that you can divide, like that's already so good. And there's a lot of heroes where you're already like 2 for 3 on turn 1. You play one ally, you're 2 for 6. This card is nonsense. I think this card in solo is so absurdly good. I think it's super cool because, as we all mentioned, right, like the typal decks that we're playing, like we're only playing X-Men, we're only playing Avengers because we have so many synergies for having, homogeneity. This being one of the few cards in the game that not only discourages homogeneity, but also encourages you to look at traits. That's usually something that shows up like later in card game designs where it's like, oh, remember how we put Vampire on, Blade? Oh, it actually matters now. Like that's so cool. Anytime a card comes out that allows you to reevaluate existing cards in your binder that you haven't played in a while or haven't thought about, like that's just the coolest thing. And we'll talk about the deck list that we built. It's easy to get this number in solo to absurd heights. And then it does admittedly overpower everything your hero kit does. You can say whether that's fun or not. That's kind of up to you. I honestly think maybe it gets a bit boring, but you can build into this, and the decks you build aren't particularly that cheesy. And this card is so good.
Yeah, I mean,
It's absolutely
one
ridiculous.
thing I will say is that it does start to feel, and there's been a lot of these decks published since the card released sometime in early 2025. I don't remember exactly when Falcon came out, but it starts to feel like you just have a shell, right, of this deck that you can slap on any hero. It's like we've mentioned a few of the highlights already. You have Huganamunin, you have Vivian, you have, Kalu because he gives you that
Blade.
Mystic. You got Blade. You got Deadpool because he gives you Mercenary. Like you've got, this
Omega.
list of, like I don't want to spoil deck lists that we're going to talk about later, but there's a list of 8 to 10 allies. Pick your favorite 7 of them, slap them in a deck with this, and you're off. And so, I don't know, this card's not solved, and you don't need to go that route for it, but I find a lot of decks I see with this go down the same kind of like, here's the list of allies that you use, basically, and you include them. I think this card is doubly good because you don't exhaust those allies to use this effect. So allies are already the strongest card in the game, and then you just use them without actually using them to make them even better. It gets crazy. Yeah, in a solo game, it's pretty easy to get to like 10, 12, 15. And then, again, like you said, you overpower everything your hero does. You can trivialize scenarios to some degree, right? Like everything is split up. You just take care of everything and it's irrelevant. And again, like you said, that's up to the player to determine if that's fun or not. If they want to do that, they can, and they don't have to. But like power, go ahead.
That's the weird thing, because I think if this is a 2 for 6, it's already where you want it to be.
Yes.
And it's so easy for decks that are like not even doing anything weird. You're just playing a fine leadership deck to get to 2 to 6 consistently. And yet I don't see people slotting this. Because again, it is the sort of gamer grade idea. A lot of people think if I'm playing Strength and Diversity, I'm playing a Strength and Diversity deck. And all I'm saying, and maybe there's better things to do in leadership, I'm not a leadership expert. I think 2 for 6s, if you're doing that, you should consider this in any deck that can play it. It's not that bad. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's the gamer grid idea, and LazyTitan talks about this gamer grid thing a lot, right? It's the same thing when you use Nova's big event card, whatever that was called. What's that one called?
Unleash Nova Force.
Unleash Nova Force. If you actually unleash Nova Force and really just kill one thing, it's actually an efficient play. Just one, you get a ready.
Very good.
You draw a card, like
it replaces itself, and you get a ready.
Yeah,
and it
if
pays
there was
for
a card
itself with
that
the
said,
helmet.
Right. If there was a card that said play 1 to ready yourself and draw a card, it would be in every deck. That's a great card. But the temptation is when you're playing Nova is then it's like, how many side schemes can I get within 1? And how many minions can I get within 1 damage of being dead so I can trigger this insane Nova turn? That's just like game agreed to a T. And I think that's what you're talking about here too, Andrej. Right? It's like, even a 2 for 5, this is a good play because you can split it up. It's thwart, it's damage, it's both, it's whatever you need. 2 for 5. At 2 for 4, honestly, I would even play this. Like you can split it up however you need.
It's
once
literally
you get
just
into
better
like,
than For Justice.
Yes. Once you get it to 5, 10, I mean, and beyond, it gets insane. So this card can be kind of abused to a degree. So then, is this card an archetype into itself? Or is this just an event card that you would throw into a deck, Andrej?
I think it is mostly people play as an archetype. by itself or on itself, because it can go pretty buck wild pretty quickly if you think like if you build into it. I would love to play it in a deck where it's not the case, because it is just fine. But yeah, I think it is like there are strength and diversity decks out there. You know what? You've built one, you probably played one. Yeah.
LT, is this an archetype or is this just a card?
I think it is generally an archetype. Generally, cards that turn into archetypes are cards that can be gamer greeted, and this I think is one of those. But I think, like Andrej said, I don't think this needs to be an archetype card at all. I think if you have probably 5+ allies in your deck, you're not wrong for not playing this card. But if you were going to build the most powerful deck, unless your traits are literally all overlapping, you might as well throw at least 2 of these in there, because this card is just so good, especially in solo. I will say in solo. If you're playing in 2-player and 4-player especially, you really do have to build into it. But at 1 and 2-player, you can just kind of get away with putting this in a leadership deck if you have some allies in there. And then it's just good.
One of the heroes that I think is great for this one that I built a deck around a few months ago, like just without any allies, it becomes a decent play. I'm sure we're going to talk more about decks later. Okay, so then let's talk about the fun of this card. And this is, of course, subjective. Is this a fun card to play? Is it not? When you get this card in your hand, are you excited? Or does it just feel like an efficient play? LT, is this like an exciting card, or are you just like, meh, deal damage, remove threat? It's by the numbers.
I think this card is super exciting before the game starts. I think this card is awesome in deck building. Like Andrej said, later in card games, a lot of times they go back to traits that they have put on there before. And I remember when this game came out, seeing a lot of traits like Vampire and Space Knight, which was the butt of jokes for years, and just being like, well, that's for later. That'll be something else. There'll be something there, or it's just in case they ever want to do a vampire block or whatever they want to do. And this finally lets you go back and do all this. Finally, Space Knight does actually have a purpose. You can no longer say that there is literally no reason for him to have Space Knight. There is now technically a reason, and there is now technically a reason for Blade to be a vampire, and all these cool things that you just don't really think about come into play. Some of that I'll give some grace to the game designers and be like, they planned it all. There's some characters that have a lot of traits and you just don't really think about it, or a bunch of random things. But it's fun to do. It's fun to just be like, oh yeah, I'm playing Black Panther. If I flip down, you now have the King trait for strength and diversity. That's not another thing. Or if you just happen to be playing a campaign, like you're playing the Thanos campaign, the Mad Titan Shadow, and you get Odin. He's also, I believe, a king, and then he also has Asgard, and I think one other trait or something, or like healed or something. There's a bunch of random traits that just kind of get picked up along the way, like Deadpool, Mercenary, or Captive, or all these weird things that just kind of pop up, which is fun. And also, I think building allies in your deck that don't overlap but still get your job, get like the game plan done, is super fun. Putting in allies that have synergistic effects but no matching traits is actually more difficult than it seems, and is a fun little puzzle to solve. And I think that's super fun. And then when you play it, you get the payoff for all that work you did. You feel like you got there.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think one of the cool things that this card did, for me at least, and I think for a lot of people in the community, is it made us all look at traits and assess traits and focus on traits in ways we never really had before, right? I don't know if I ever really noticed that the Deadpool ally had the mercenary trait before this came out. It's like one of those funny things that maybe registers on some level, right? And we've made a running joke out of Space Knight for 3 years in this podcast. But like, it's just a silly, traits are sometimes just for flavor. Why does Vivian have 3 traits? I don't know. Someone was feeling generous that day at FFG, and she got Aerial and Champion and Android. It just doesn't really matter, right? And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, here's this card that wants as many traits as possible. Well, I got to find someone with Spy, and someone with Vampire, and someone with Captive, and someone with whatever. I think that's really cool. Yeah, I do think it's interesting how you look at traits now. Now, when new allies come out, especially in leadership, right now, you'll go back to this card immediately and be like, oh, this is another great one for that because it got a new trait. Andrej, what do you think? How fun is this?
I agree with LazyTitan. I think the fun here is like deck building, where you get your little puzzle where you want to solve it, but then when it comes to table play, the like sort of decisions you're making are more about like, oh, do I keep this ally? Do I prioritize this ally because these are good traits? And you're trying to manage where the strength and diversities are with recursion and what, trying to manage your deck and setup while also, getting this to go off. I think every time that I draw this, like, I don't think I make interesting decisions. That's the problem. Like, that's the good thing about playing an attack event or a thwart event is you have to decide where that goes. And that usually means you're deciding to not attack the other thing, right? Do you attack the minion or the villain? That's the choice. With this card, you just do everything. You do everything. You usually have enough that you can get everything done and slightly more. So when you draw it, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, you let out that tension that you've been holding for the last couple of minutes, but it's not particularly fun.
Yeah, I find it usually resolves around like, okay, I'm playing strength and diversity. You count up your traits. Okay, I have 12. Where do we need to put it? I'm like, well, put 1 here, put 3 here, put 2 here. Okay, whatever's left over, put it on the villain.
Exactly.
And yeah, I agree with you there. Is this a Spike, a Timmy, or a Johnny card? Andrej, do you know what those 3 archetypes are?
It's been a while. I know. No, actually, you probably should just say them. I know the magic article comes from.
Yeah, that wasn't to like catch you out or anything.
No.
LT, why don't you just tell us what the 3 are quickly, and then tell us what you think it is.
Spike is our power gamer, trying to win all the time, plays the most efficient plays always. The kind of person who plays Ironheart and Maria Hill in every deck they build, because it's just the best thing to play. Johnny is the combo player. It's someone who wants to build a crazy engine that doesn't necessarily have to be good, but just wants to do a big thing and make their combo work. And then Timmy is just someone who likes big old numbers. Depending on the game, it could be big monsters, it could be big whatever. In this game, it's usually swinging web kick or like dive bomb is just a great Timmy card.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just your combo, your big numbers, and your winner.
So how do you think it is, LazyTitan? Where would this is a Spike, Timmy, or Johnny card?
I think this card, a little bit like we talked about earlier, I think this card has become a Johnny card when it probably is a Spike card. Like I don't, this might shock the people, but I don't keep super high tabs on the Solo Champions League. But
it's retired now.
It's retired now. I didn't know that. But if that were still going, this feels like the card that would kind of ruin that and break it. And just like, oh, okay, so everyone's just playing Strength and Diversity because, of course, I can get 2 for 10 with no barriers and it gets around stunned and confused. So it's irrelevant what hero I'm playing. It's irrelevant what my deck does as long as I can get some resource generators and play Black Panther to get this back. I win.
PvP. What about PvP?
Or PvP. I can also see this kind of ruining. So it definitely feels like a Spike card to me just because it is very strong. But especially at higher player counts and the way most people play it, is just like, how many traits can I possibly get on the board at one time? Which is very Johnny. It's trying to figure out how you can get the most efficient traits or the most least overlap with your traits to be able to get all the things you want. So you want to put Hugin and Moon in there, so maybe you don't want to play Thor, so you don't have Asgard because you want to get X-Men, or you want to put something, you want to play a weird hero, you want to get Space Knight and Guardian, and you want to do all this extra stuff. So it's definitely a Johnny card, but it has the potential. It is just very good at lower player counts, at least.
I think Andrej is probably a Spike player among us who is playing for efficiency. Maybe I'll let you self-describe, but from what I've seen, you maybe have some Johnny tendencies in there, but I think you're a Spike player, and that comes from playing True Solo, maybe. For me, this is like at heart, like in its soul, this is a Johnny card, but in its brain, this is a Spike card. Like it's just so good that it can become ruthless efficiency, even though there's some Johnny.
It wants to be a Johnny, but
it
was destined to be a Spike.
Andrej, what do you think?
I think I have to defend myself first to some extent.
You were just slandered.
Go on.
You were absolutely just slandered.
I definitely am somebody who looks at a card and does like the math of how efficient it is and cares about that. But I know a big part of what I want to do is I just want to play on expert, have a good time, but usually bring something weird. So I'm definitely more between the camps than solidly in one. Now, I think this card might be a bit of all of them, which is the weird thing. Like, it's a fun build around that, oh, my combo went off. You're really happy about that when you do your 2 for 18 or whatever. But also the numbers are good. And I would guess it's a first order optimal thing to do when you're playing competitively. That being said, I've only started dipping my toes into heroic and like heroic meta. And from my understanding, obviously allies are really good in this game, but a big part of why allies are good in this game is that they're not permanent. So there's a big chance, because leadership's already kind of a messed up aspect, especially on higher difficulties, that this might actually not be the best thing you can do in leadership, because ally recursion is more valuable and like that sort of thing, where your allies are taking the hits so you're not dying. Like this actually does have a cost associated, which is you leave your allies on the table, which not every ally deck or leadership deck does at high difficulties, I don't think.
Well, let me just counter your defense of your own playing style, sir, because I've watched a few of your videos.
Oh.
No, I won't disagree with any of it, but what I will say is that my favorite part, and this may sound weird, my very favorite part of every one of your videos is that, like, as soon as you start playing, it's when you do your mulligan. You have such a great way of explaining your thought process of each card that you will keep. It's a maybe keep. It's a I won't keep this. And you talk about why that is. You know the deck you're playing, so you know what you're trying to do. You know what else is in here. You know the odds of maybe drawing that thing. It's riveting television. If people haven't watched it, that's my favorite, like 30 to 60 seconds of your gameplays. The rest of them are nice too. No offense, but I just love how you sit and you're like, okay, I have this one. I could get this, but this is, yeah, I could get this. I love that a lot. So that was a total non sequitur, but that's what we're here for.
The Netrunner game I play has only a full mulligan, shuffle your hand back and draw. So when I'm allowed to make decisions, boy, am I making decisions.
Yeah, I love that. Do you shuffle in before you draw again, or do you draw again and then shuffle?
Shuffle in straight away, draw 5.
Okay, that's the same as a Lord of the Rings LCG. You got to keep them all, or shuffle them back in, and you just get what you get.
That's how most games work. The selective mulligan is so good.
Fun.
It's so powerful.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It is
It's
fun.
really fun.
It's perfect for a game like this. A little bit of a tangent. I know. Sorry. So unlike us. But it's perfect for a game like this where it is just kind of goofy superhero fun. And this game like can be hard, but it's not like really that hard. So it's fun. You just want to be a superhero and punch a villain around, and that's fun. So it's just like, take whatever cards you want. Keep your cool Spider-Man thing or whatever. It's fine. But the Lord of the Rings game is designed to make you regret buying that collection. So you really are punished for actually everything in that game, but especially your hands.
Yeah. Okay, let's transition to final thoughts here. So the way we do final thoughts is we give a rating between 1 and 10, 5 being true neutral. So 5 is not a failing score. If you got a 5 out of 10 in 10th grade English, that was a failing score. But here it's right in the middle. So we just give a score. We give a few final thoughts. I will let Andrej go last because he is the guest and he can have the final word. LazyTitan, I'll let you go very first. Give us your final score and final thoughts on strength and diversity.
Final score, I'm going to give this card a 7. I like it. I think it is. I've talked before about how much I love traits, and I love myself some synergy. So the deck building puzzle of getting your traits together, and it's so fun to look at my set of allies and be like, well, okay, so I'm not going to play the professor because I do have Kid Omega who has both those traits that I already have, or I could cut Kid Omega for Professor X and see which one I want to do, but I don't really want to run both, even though they are both very strong, which also helps with part of the fact that a lot of the X-Men allies are just really good and often very strong, so you end up playing a lot of them. But I like that whole puzzle of it. I think that's super fun. I'm not a huge leadership guy, but when I do, I enjoy myself some of the things you can't do in other aspects, and this is one of them. I think Alliance is fun. It is a great 4-player like con card. As much as I said it's maybe worse in that play count because you can do it in 2 different ways, especially like for someone like myself, who I usually go knowing that Boomguy will also be there. So we can often build decks that work together. And so he can build a deck that's just going to play this card as much as possible. And I can play my Thor deck that's just, I'm going to give him all the money he needs. And I'm just going to angel invest his strength and diversity deck. And that's just fun. And that's a fun way to play a game. It's just like my whole, for those that haven't tried it, I would recommend find a buddy and just like pick a hero. And one of you picks a hero, and the other one is their whole job is to make that hero better. One of my favorite experiences at the con of all time was, I am sorry to them. I forgot your names, but at the Con of Heroes 2024, 5, I think it was. I think it was 5. I played a Quicksilver game against the Carnage scenario, and all 3 of them, they came to me and they said, "Hey, LazyTitan, we want you to play this Quicksilver deck, and all we're going to do is we're going to buff you, and that's all we're going to do." And I said, okay. So I went and sat with them, and the whole game, I was just cranking out 70, 80 damage turns because literally all these guys did was give me extra buffs. They're all playing different decks to give me Inspired, and they were stacking whatever they could onto my hero just so I could ready as many times as possible. They were readying me. They're using Earth's Mightiest Heroes to ready me. Just as many things as you possibly do. Super fun. This card lets you do something like that. And it is also very strong. And that's also fun. The art lets it down a little bit. The lack of flavor text is an immediate demerit. But I like this card overall, more than the average card.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't have been a final rating if you didn't go on a tangent. Thank you for keeping your promise to the people. For me, I think this is like an 8.5 out of 10. I think this card is really, really strong. It does have some immediate demerits. As LazyTitan, you took the wind out of my sails, but it does not have flavor text, which it's almost an automatic demerit. I don't like that. I think flavor text is great. And the art is mid for me. The rest of it is really great. I think alliance is one of those keywords that is so fun and so important for the game because it makes this superhero power fantasy of all of us being on a team together come to life at the table in a way that a lot of it doesn't, right? You can interact with people and you help pay for stuff, and I think that really fits the whole team superhero thing really, really well. The 2 per player cost is interesting. I like per player cost as a thing. I am glad that is something they've added into the game. I think it, mixed results on how it actually works, but I think it's a cool idea. I like that it made us all reassess traits in a way that we hadn't before. I think that was really fun. It brought something new to the game without really changing anything. It just took old cards like Blade we mentioned. Just he now has more value in a new way because he interacts with this card because of his trait. That's really cool. Yeah, so overall, I think this is a really fun, this is kind of an archetype defining card. It created an archetype of itself now. And I think it's really, really fun. Yeah, that's where I stand on it. Andrej, give us a final word, final rating, final thoughts on Strength and Diversity.
Cool. I'm going to go for a 9.5. I think this card is really good. I just love the idea that the existence of this card has made us reevaluate. I don't know what the number is, a quarter of the entirety of the card pool to date and going forward. That is worth commending. Anytime a card like builds an entire archetype and makes something that you suddenly care about is worth something. I hope one day I'm playing this in a deck that's not exactly a Strength and Diversity deck, but it's just like a good value play. Because I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one of the best things about this card when you play solo is a lot of times the issue in solo that you don't often have in multiplayer is if the problem in front of you is not a problem your hand can solve, you tend to lose that game. And this is one of the few cards in the game where you draw it. It does whatever you need. Do you need threat? Do you need damage? Do you need a mix of both? That is so absurdly valuable in this game playing solo on any difficulty. There's no card like that. It's buck wild.
Yeah, awesome. I think we all rate this card very highly. I think this is a fun card, and I hope to see more like this. I think I didn't see this card coming from FFG, but it was a really nice surprise, and it does prove that even the Falcon Hero Pack has something that's good in it. All right, let's stop there. I will stop saying my perfectly reasonable bad takes about Falcon and save those for another day when we definitely don't ever talk about Falcon. And we're going to talk about decks. So I always ask the guests, you and I both built a deck for this episode. I always ask the guest, do you want to present your deck first or do you want to present your deck second?
Can I go first? Yeah, of course. Is that cool? Okay.
Yeah, so, you got somewhere to be. You got to get out of here. See
no. The issue is, I know we both picked the same hero. I think you saw what my deck was to some extent. Like, do we both pick the same hero?
We did not. I was jerking your chain. We did not pick the same hero.
Okay, sick. Okay,
so then he's been got.
I was like really interested whether we got a competition. Okay, so I'm going to open with a question. When you play solo, just you. No shenanigans with the encounter deck. You're not playing, whatever encounter deck makes this easier. What is the highest number you think you can get in solo in standard Marvel Champions right now?
in strength and diversity. If I'm trying to peak and get it absolutely tip top, I think the number is between 16 and 20.
Lazy, you want to take a shot?
I was going to say 20.
Damn, it's lower. It's 15.
That's the highest you can get, really?
That's the highest, yeah. At least, okay, from my math. Someone can prove me wrong, but I spent a fair bit of time trying to figure out what the most you could do is. And maybe that's a transition to this deck. This can do 2 for 15s.
Okay, so this guy, insisting he's a Johnny, here he is. I spent a lot of time thinking about what the absolute most I could get out of this, but I swear I'm a Johnny player, guys.
Yeah, because it's a fun challenge. This is the Sisterhood of the Traveling Genes. It's a Gene Grey. It's a Phoenix deck, which I needed to play Phoenix. It was kind of on the docket. I'm not a huge Phoenix fan. I still today don't really know what a lot of her cards do because admittedly, when you play this deck, they don't actually matter that much.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of good stuff going for Jean Grey. Firstly, she starts with 3 traits because she's psionic, she's X-Men, and she's either restrained or unleashed, whichever side you're on. So you're already starting at 3 traits, which means as soon as you play one of those very valuable triple traded allies, you're looking at 2 for 6s as soon as turn 1, which I have done somewhat consistently in testing games. So if you play like Vivian or you play the bird, Hugin and Moonin, the birds, you're already up on 6 traits. Other good things. And this is the weird thing is like, I thought I would have to add all the ally slots you can, but the problem with adding ally slots outside of the Triskelion is most of the ally slots are restricted by just being like, okay, if you only play X-Men, you get another X-Men ally slot. But the issue is most X-Men that have another trait, they only have one other trait. So you end up actually like gaining a slot, but not actually gaining more traits for it. So you should go for just straight non-team based. And so I picked some allies and I picked a deck that can consistently get to your 2 for 15. So just to shout out some of these cards. First is Atlas Bear, who I think is probably the weakest card in the deck. Atlas is Posse Wakanda, which is a cool trait as much as Wakanda shows up twice. And she has the ability to look at the top card of your deck, and if it's an event, you can draw it, which means you can get to the card or get to other draw cards, then get to your card. Black Panther, super important. I don't think we'll see Black Panther I think every Strength and Diversity deck wants to consider Black Panther because Black Panther can grab a Strength and Diversity from the bin, let alone Avenger Wakanda. Those are fine traits. As we talked about, Blade is sick. And a big thing about this deck is I wanted to be able to set up. So even cheap allies or cheap ways to get extra traits are really valuable. And Blade is 1 for 2 traits, which is really good. Cyclops, not worth playing, not worth a slot because it only has 1 trait. Grant Ward, Shield Spy, as long as we're counting that as 2 separate traits, if you know, you know. He's really cheap. You can get that on the table. And similarly, as much as there's an overlap, we also have Slingshot, which functionally every turn you can generate a wild, so you can just play Slingshot every turn. And so that's a really cheap way to get 2 traits. We have Hugin and Moonin, of course. Bird, Bird, Aerial, Asgard. Absurd traits. Nobody has most of those. Kalu is Mystic Avenger, so there's a bit of an overlap there, but it also looks for 5 cards. And then finally, Vivian, just another salad of great traits. Aerial, Champion, Android. So the other tricks we have is, firstly, of course, we have 3 Strength and Diversity, and then we have 3 Strength and Numbers. You don't want to use your allies when they're low health, so why not just draw with them? We have Call for Backup, which you can usually play to get whoever you need, let alone if you grab Black Panther can get your Strength and Diversity and you're popping off that turn. New Recruits is really cool. It's a card I've barely played, and it gets you an ally that doesn't take up a slot. And as much as that ally is X-Men, it's also new, which is a trait that's unique to that kind of idea. Everything else is like pretty straightforward. I'm on 1 band together. I think this deck probably should be playing Make the Calls and just like recursion cards, but I'm kind of tired of playing Make the Call and everything. And then of course, Triskelion, and then very importantly, Children of the Atom gives you 2 extra traits because now you're X-Men. You can be Aerial, not that you need it. You can be X-Force, X-Factor, Psionic, Restrained. 2 for 15 is super possible, and it happens usually in less than 1 deck cycle.
Yeah, this is really, really strong. I published a similar deck to this, I don't know, last year sometime when this was new. One of the other things I'll shout out that you didn't mention, with Mind Control, you can also get a minion with Controlled, so it's another keyword you can get out there. The New Recruits is clever to get new. Yeah, there's just, I mean, the great thing about Jean Grey, especially in solo, is that with her 3 starting traits, plus Aerial, plus Controlled, and Children of the Atom, she can get to 6 just like not playing any allies at all. I mean, Mind Control, depending on how you count that, which is just like you said, that's great. So allies then are just a bonus. This is really strong. I'm sure this deck slayed everything in its path.
It's been good. Even when Dark Phoenix comes up, it's like you can blow her up in one turn, no problem. But the big thing too is like you have 9 health, which isn't great. You don't want to block with your allies, but you have that card that like soaks 5 damage plus, which is nice. And with 3 thwart, like all you have to do is stay afloat. Like 3 thwart is absurd. Stay afloat. You have the resource generator built in, and then once it's there, you just like wipe the board back to turn 1, and then usually the villain's dead in a turn or 2.
Yeah. The last suggestion I'll make, I said band together here creates a triple resource, which you maybe don't need. I added a resource reserve to mine just to hold a resource. Like there was times when I would draw Power of Leadership or band together and I don't need it, and I would just save it for when Strength and Diversity comes back out. Especially at higher player counts. I built a Black Panther deck that I published a few months ago. The original Black Panther, with the goal to pay for this card in 4-player, and so it was all about trying to get all those resources to spend 6 or 8 a turn, which is a feat on its own. But yeah, this looks really cool. LT, thoughts, comments, feedback, concerns?
I think,
Pithy remarks?
Andrej, you've been great, and I appreciate you coming on our show. But I think you gotta take a look in the mirror and really see if you know what Spike is.
No, okay, look.
This is
a fun
no.
adventure
Actually,
with a
no. I'm actually going
spreadsheet.
to keep going. So what I have heard is deck cycle. I heard 2 for 15 is extremely possible. The villain dies in 1 turn.
Recursion.
Blow up Dark Phoenix. Recursion. I'm sick of Make the Call. My man, you're a Spike. And that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to be a Spike.
I know, and I feel like I have to apologize. The one thing I want to say, because you mentioned about the mulligans, my goal is not to think that people who don't like play on expert play, who cares? My goal when I make Marvel Champions content is to play with intention, and I think that's so cool. So many people get more out of the game when your decisions are made with intention. Whatever difficulty you play on, just intend something, because then the world is the response of what you do to it, and I think that's kind of cool.
See, I thought LazyTitan was going to go on a meme rant and give you a hard time for playing A, leadership, and B, lots of allies. That would have been on point, but on brand.
No, this is an intervention. You're a Spike, and that's
You're
okay.
Spike.
And
You're
that's
Spike.
That's fine.
That deck list, I will say, exactly 40 cards.
Oh, yeah.
Another warning sign.
Another
Early
warning sign
combo
for
deck.
Spike.
Yeah. Another.
Yeah,
These 5 signs show you might be a Spike. Doctors hate this one trick.
Okay, I'm going to share my deck. My deck is, similar, but I went in a slightly different direction here. So
Right.
I used Domino, which is a hero I have not played a ton of, hasn't really grabbed me for whatever reason since she came out. I'm not going to read all the allies. They are largely the same. I think the only ones I have different are Deadpool, because he has traits. I put Beast in here because Beast can recur the triple resource that she likes so much. I also put Venom in here. He has the symbiote trait. He's also just really good in cards like Lucky and Good and Lucky Break. Can help with the boost card he's pulling to deal more damage, and then also to help mitigate his encounter card he draws you. This is meant to be more like a Domino deck that also does Strength and Diversity. So I tried to include also Venom is a wild resource, crucially, as is Deadpool. He's a wild resource. Strength and Diversity itself is a wild resource. And Domino, of course, interacts with wild resources. So she wants lots of those. And I included Effective Leadership because it's both a wild resource and playing allies kind of boosts them. There's nothing here that's like amazing, but adding as many wild resources as we can and trying to just hit Strength and Diversity when it comes out. So when I was playing this, I was just like, oh, I have Strength and Diversity. I'm going to hit 5, I'm going to hit 7, whatever it is. And I just move on as another card rather than burning everything to play Strength and Diversity, which, like you talked about, Andrej, some of these decks can become just like, oh, I drew a random Phoenix card. I don't care. I'm tossing it for Strength and Diversity. I really tried to just play a normal game. And when Strength and Diversity came out, I would use it with whatever allies were there. Or not. So, but yeah, it's very similar. And we talked about this earlier. This is one of the things I don't have against the card, but it has become kind of a shell that you can slap on anybody, right? You can slap it on Iceman, you can slap it on Phoenix, you can slap it on Hawkeye, whatever. Using kind of largely the same ally pool and the same cards. But yeah, so this is the Domino tricks, and it worked for me. It's got me playing Domino. I don't know if I love Domino. She's just not really
She's cool.
I don't know. Yeah, what do you like about Domino? Sell me this hero.
It's been a minute, but she has so many moving parts. And it's also one of the heroes where you have a lot of agency with like the hand swap. You have the jackpot hits with the shuffles. Playing with Digging Deep is just fun because like you have to shoot the moon and sometimes it lands and you get the white fox when you need it. I just like that sort of, rip from the top of the deck and hope for the best. I think it's quite fun.
Find her to be very similar to me with Psylocke, which is that I read a lot of words on cards. I pull a lot of levers, and in the end, I don't know, do a little bit here and a little bit there. And I feel like I've worked very hard to do just like a few little things when it would have been better just to have a card that says, pay 2 to get 3 or something. I don't know.
I hear you. I feel
A lot
like
of
she,
hoops.
to me, feels like a more interesting Venom, where like Venom just has so much value on the table where like every turn you can do 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. And she does that, but she does it in a way that feels more flashy and like the pieces are interacting in a more interesting way. But I see where you're coming from. I'm not a huge Psylocke fan either for that same reason.
Yeah, it just feels like you're just like doing a few little things, but you're kind of showboating. Maybe that's the character. I don't know. Okay, LT, you didn't bring a deck today, and I didn't give you the chance to offer suggestions on mine. It's not that I don't care what you have to say, but
it's that
I didn't want to say it. But now that you said it, it's out there.
I'm actually going to give you my thoughts anyway. So
go.
I was just going to say one of the big things I think is very cool about this card is that both of you played mostly the same list of allies, but altered it in very crucial ways, like Beast, because of the synergy with the hero. So as much as it is kind of like you're going to play these 6 heroes, and Hugin and Moonin shows up in a lot of them, and so does Vivian. Those two are kind of locks. You can switch it up depending on what you need. Like you didn't play Atlas Bear because you didn't need the posse trait as much, so it was less valuable, so it became effectively a 1-trait ally, so you didn't play it as much, whereas he did, and you were playing Beast because X-Men was harder to come by. I think that's kind of interesting. I think that's part of why the card is cool, is if you build it right, you can build around specific allies, but still keeping your traits mostly separate. And so sometimes you have to cut things that you would normally play. But if you look a little bit deeper than just like, oh, I'm going to play this, and this because it's the most efficient set of allies. And you're like, well, okay, so I'm playing Domino, so I care about this resource, so I want to play Beast to get it back to then have that thing. That adds another layer, which I think is super fun.
Yeah, agreed. This was overall quite enjoyable. Andrej, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to join us. I also want to thank you for your chef's kiss pronunciation every time you talk about the 3-cost ally that I call Gambit.
Gambit.
Gambit. Every time you say it, it fills me with joy. So thank you for that. And seriously, thanks for coming on, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk about strength and diversity with us. If you are listening to this, I will have these decks are already published and they are linked down below. So please go check them out. Please play them. Give us your thoughts. But we'd love to have you back sometime. If you ever want to delve into 2-player, either on my channel or yours, let me know.
Cool.
And before we go, remind the people where they can find you and what you do.
Yeah, I'm on a YouTube channel called The Crash Space. If you just search that, it'll come up. I think the vanity is like at Crash Space Grid. Usually put out video content, not regularly, but stream Sundays, usually morning or evening. Honestly, it's hard to tell sometimes. If you want to check out Netrunner, Metropole Grid, you can find me there. But thanks so much for having me. Absolute treat. I was really looking forward to this. And I probably will take you up on that 2-player thing. I think that sounds like a lot of fun.
That'd be a ton of fun. A little crossover, try something new. I'd totally be into that. LazyTitan, thanks for coming on, sharing your thoughts. As always, you are the Red King. I'm sorry we did not have an aggression card today, but
That's
hopefully
fine.
we'll change that soon.
I'll accept it. I always have plenty of thoughts to be shared.
Well,
and most of them
I will tease the people, and I will hopefully satiate your hunger, sir, and tell you that next episode will be an aggression card. We are going into the next month, which is going to be Women's History Month. We have a special guest coming next time. Lethis, old co-host of the podcast, will be returning, and we're talking about an aggression card. So please come back, and we will get your aggression out, and we'll talk about it. Yeah? You excited?
Perfect.
Aggression?
I'm excited. I'm ready. I think I know who it is.
I think you probably know who it is. You are, after all, a co-host in this podcast and have access to a list that I keep.
I do. I can't just look it up, but I'm not going to for the listeners, and I'm gonna guess, and I'm gonna be surprised, just same as you are.
I love it. All right, LazyTitan, Andrej, thanks again to both of you and everybody else watching. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Later.